I don't know if we're online yet. I'll say this again if I have to, but I think you're right, Chris. I think my computer is on its last legs, uh, which has me a little worried. But I'll be right back. Okay, am I live? Can you hear me? Is everything going okay? It says I'm connected. It says connection's a little low, but let's see. Close that. Close that. Okay, says we're online, full strength. Hear me okay? Okay. Sorry about that. I think you're right. I think it is on its last legs, which has me a little worried because I want to use this laptop afterwards. I, I think it's one of two things. I need to replace one of the fans because it's going like pulsating. So I think I need to replace a fan. It might be just overheating. It's kind of toasty in my room. Could be something else. I hope it's not that. I'm not gonna jinx it, but I want to use it as the second computer and have it take all the stress of streaming off of the main rig, even though my main rig will handle it just fine.
Is meshed
Yeah.
over to basically look like the bigger fusion sword, and then the sleek saber is the skinny one that we see Cloud in the movie use quite often.
It's the base form, and it's basically a fusion of all the swords. Like when it's put together, it's a fusion of all the swords that he's collected over Final Fantasy VII, just in like little blade forms. I do like this, um, but the put together fusion sword's great. This mod is awesome, and I know why they didn't. It would be impossible, but I really, really hope that in Revelations we get to play as Advent Children Cloud with the Advent Children's clothes with Fusion Sword, and then there'll be like triangle to mode change, and you can just cycle through uh, the dual blade forms. You could swap through the this form. You can swap through to the main form, and they all do different shit. That would be so fucking cool.
Often in combat, which is also really dope. I'm gonna put that on just so we can get a good look at what that looks like on the back. It still looks cool, man. Still looks cool. Again, through the years, one of the coolest designs ever to grace media presence. You see the cape has all kinds of like full physics as you move around, but Cloud, it can like move, it's free flowing, you know? So with the, depending on how Cloud is moving in combat and stuff, it'll have different types of actions. So let's jump into combat. I also had to recently, oh man, we killed way too quick there. I had to recently reinstall my shaders, so the game is still like booting itself up because I haven't played since the new.
Oh yeah, they fixed the lighting in it. This game, look, I'm gonna be 100% transparent. This game looks wonderful. Its lighting makes it look like dookie dog water, man. The lighting makes everyone look so plastic and fake and gross. Um, I hate the lighting in Remake and Rebirth, and I'm upset that they didn't add a day-night cycle or a way to change it from day to night. Because at night, this game and everything looks fantastic. In daytime, at noon, because this game's perpetually noon, they look like dog shit.
Update. The cloth physics on both Cloud and Tifa look really, really good in motion, man. In combat, it's going to be even crazier. I mean, it's free-flowing, so you're going to be seeing this thing swing around, but just like in the movie, that's what we all loved about it, right? Bro, big, thick fusion sword. Looking really cool. By the way, the modders are also working on the other characters, too, to get them their Advent Children outfits like Yuffie and Barrett. W's in the chat if you're happy to see Fishnet Barrett. Bro, this just looks so good, man. They did such a good job on these. Again, man, I really love it. They're also working on the arm cover for Cloud because there's two variations of this outfit. One where he has his left arm covered and one where he doesn't. All right, let's check it out in combat now against our good old friend, the Mind Flayer.
Oh yeah, so something weird about the advertisement for Rebirth. They were advertising that like um you would have a shit ton of outfits and stuff to switch from in this game in Rebirth. And you know, it would connect to Advent Children, and Zack was going to be a super important character. But I think early in its development, they pivoted, and what they really did was make this map for the third game, and then they just filled it with a lot of kind of filler content. They're still fun, but like filler content. And they gave you like a few outfits that would make sense for this game, but they saved it all for the last game. So the last could be like the definitive version of everything. But yeah, you get like two outfits for everybody: a swimsuit and then soldier outfits for when you're or not soldier, but like not soldier, but like foot soldier outfits, grunt outfits when you go on the cruise ship. Which again, that one guy's video, we'll get back to it eventually. Maybe we'll watch it after this, but like I don't like everything being turned into a tourist area. I don't like the cruise ship being turned into a tourist, or sorry, the freighter that used to just be a military freighter being turned into a cruise ship where they play card games. As much as I like the card games, that stuff can go. And I'm hoping in the third game they did all that so you could feel how empty the world is when everybody is sheltered and hiding from meteor and all that.
I actually do like testing out things against this fight because it does have a few mechanics. It's a little bit technical in that sense for the synergy options to have to really deal some decent damage to him. Did I forget to put? I forgot to put ATB boost on Aerith. All right, no worries. Well, Tifa just dodged that. Oh my God, Tifa, that was sick. It's slow motion. All right, Cloud. Yo, the cape is kind of flows like Batman, bro. I feel like I'm playing an Arkham game right now. All right.
Yeah, the cape physics are wonky. The waist cape, it's not staying to form. It is like stretching because there's so much momentum. Because that's how a lot of modders do it. They'll add like a physics to it, and if in an Unreal, if you don't tweak it the right way, it's going to stretch the frame of whatever it is to ludicrous heights. Like his cape is like right here, and it should be going to the middle of this pedal, but it's going to the edge of this pedal when he swings around.
Cloud, let's get some Thundaras going off. All right, let's see this in a cinematic form of battle. Bro, he would block that. What? That's actually pretty hilarious that this dude went ahead and made it so that I couldn't see the cutscene. So let's try Relentless Rush. god, dude. That looks so badass. That's an early look at an Advent Children game, baby. All right, now let's see Cloud's cross slash. Chat, I'm loving this. And now for the changing booth mod. So we're gonna go ahead and download this one. Again, you need to be able to access this in New Game Plus and change the outfit, because this is going to go over the bikini outfit. So I'm gonna go ahead and slow download that one, and this one is about 34 megabytes, a little bit smaller. Now I've already removed the Tifa Advent Children mod from my game, so what we're gonna do is add the new one we just downloaded for the sake of showcasing it and drag it in there. And now all we have to do is go to a changing booth and switch to the Advent Children outfit for Tifa. We're in Gongaga to showcase this, but you could totally go to any other location that does have a changing booth. You'll see them around in different towns. So we'll go into the changing booth and
pause, please. Okay. I'm going to see how far along this extraction is. What the fuck? It didn't move at all for a long time, and then it jumped to halfway and then stuck there. Oh my god, I think that's what's doing it. Oh well, it is what it is. I've had enough of this guy's videos. So yeah, they got Fusion Sword. Ooh. I love stuff like this. I can't wait to have a new keyboard, honestly. Because this one, some of the keys just don't want to click. I actually made one of this guy's weapons before with cardboard, but it got destroyed in my old place. My old place. Man, he do math good. Yeah, so it's basically just magnets that are holding it on. And you know, it's super affordable to make these things. You just have to know what you're doing. I mean, obviously it's cardboard and stuff, but all this stuff you can buy at like a freaking Hobby Lobby or a home improvement store for super cheap. This guy saw Cloud's Fusion Sword and was like, how do I make this impractical piece of shit into an actual weapon? The Fusion Sword is basically a Lego sword, but made out of metal. Yeah. It's the coolest fucking Lego sword, bro. Not just any Lego sword. It's the Lego sword. My friend, I made my own Lionheart or Griever necklace from Final Fantasy VIII at my friend's forge, and I'm no longer friends with that guy. But I was gonna make a gunblade. Me and him were gonna make a real functioning gunblade, not like to actually shoot bullets or anything, but it would like the revolver would turn and click. And I was gonna put like a little sound motor in there that when you click it, it makes like a noise. But one complications, I was gonna cosplay as a Squall. You can't take metal weapons to conventions though, so that's out of the question. And then that guy got mad at me when he tried to hit on my current girlfriend and she turned him down. So yeah. Or not my current girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time. A lot of fucking work still. Glad I didn't make the Buster Sword, because he hadn't made the video yet. I forgot what I did make from him though. It was something Final Fantasy. And this is the coolest part. Well, not this, but the next part he does. Such a cool weapon. Almost as cool as a gunblade. And it's all held together by fucking magnets. Cardboard, glue, sticker, or not stickers, tape and magnets. Now, you don't want to swing this at nothing, but if you're like cosplaying or something, it'd be fucking great. That is so cool. People are cool sometimes. But that's part one. This is part two. Yes, he made the entire fucking motorcycle. It's super satisfying to see this whole thing fucking transform. Okay, I'll click on that just after this video. It's almost over. Can't keep my eyes off when I watch this guy do stuff. I like meticulous work like this. I needed storage for my giant fucking sword, so I built a giant fucking bike. That video on the right is fucking crazy. Alright, let's see. That bar has not moved a fucking tick. I'm a little worried about it now. What, you trying to rub this in my face, bro? When we were last playing Dissidia and you kicking my ass with this? Yeah, I like the next one better. It's a little flashier, but it feels more like Omni Slash. Here's the thing though. They change it from yellow to blue. And you notice anything when this is happening? Look at all those blue ghosts clouds there. Look at all the teleporting he's doing. A little versus suspicious here. Oh, let's see. You know what? I think it's time. Something else we're gonna do while we wait for this fucking thing. So might as well try to finish this. Give it a second to load because how should it be right now? Another thing about this guy's reviews, or his review so far of this, very much, oh, look at this other thing that's very similar to this thing, when they've been doing stuff like this for like over 15 years in games. It's not specific to Ragnarok or just popular games at the time. It is literally just how they have been presenting 3D media for a long time now in video games. He's just like, oh, hey, look at thing that's familiar that makes my point sound like it's more poignant. So I don't know.
I guess I do really
Like that has literally been a thing with video games for like almost 20 years now.
like Ghost of Tsushima and to a lesser extent Ghost of Yotei, which mostly has a very stripped down approach to its presentation and design.
Hey, Cloud! It seems that a transmuter chip. Excellent! It seems.
If there is one criticism about Rebirth that I think is mostly uncontroversial to say, it's this. Rather than follow in the footsteps of a pioneering, artistically inventive, tonally striking original game, Square instead chose to take art and text from that game and stretch it over the format of a Horizon game. And to be clear, I'm not singling out Horizon off a personal agenda. I'm literally working with what the creative team said was their inspiration for the open world. And the open world is realistically most of your hours spent in this video game. To be fair, they also cited The Witcher 3, and that's a bit harder to make out, whereas the Horizon crossovers are really, really obvious. This is probably really cool if you love Horizon and only remember the high notes of the original FF7. And to be clear, I think that overlap is probably a lot of people. I think it explains the review scores and impressions. I am not in that overlap, however. I don't find Horizon very interesting, and I'm a weird freak who knows FF7 backwards from forwards. Take that literally if you want. If you did not immediately notice that Remake's back cover recreates the original's back cover, we are not the same. Where Horizon is
No, I noticed. I'm a huge 7 fan as well, but I don't know. I think he's grasping at straws here. I know like the map design is very Horizon, it's very Ubisoft, but I don't think they just stretched it out. To be fair with the original game, the reason why the original Final Fantasies work so well, even though they have limited presentation, is because of the ambiguity of how the characters are portrayed, how the world is portrayed. The world map is barren. It's basically a. I mean, for the time, it was amazing, and I still like that presentation to this day. But it was a large flat landmass that had nothing in it, from Midgard to the Calmlands, and then the Calmlands with a few chocobo footprints there to signify where you could capture chocobo, and then the lake where you could fight or run past Midgard Swarmer. In 7, they filled it to the brim with things to actually do. Storytelling elements that weren't present in the original. Because, limitations and because they couldn't fill the map with a bunch of shit like they can now. But a lot of these things tell subtly parts of Final Fantasy that isn't told through the main story. Like seeing the windmills next to the the grasslands at the edge of the map. That builds the world and tells you people are living here. The ruins that are strung about that tell you that there has been many battlefields throughout this world before. It's like it's doing stuff that the original couldn't do, not because it didn't want to or didn't think about trying to do these things, but because all they could do at the time was to one, figure out how to work in 3D, and two, the overworld map was a means to an end. It wasn't like the focus, whereas Rebirth it is very much the focus. But I can't deny the comparisons when it comes to Horizon, when it comes to the overall map design or like Ubisoft. And those elements do weaken it. The worst part of it all is having a checklist to tell you every single thing you can do in an area and how much of it to do. Like, oh, there's still X amount of missions here. There's like 2 more hunts. There's whatever. That it was really obnoxious. I really hated that. And then the mini game was fine for when you find a shrine related to a summon, but then fighting it in the VR room, that's another criticism I have. Most of your optional fights in this game, there will be a lot on the open world, but most of the like Hades Cup or like, you know, Kingdom Hearts style Coliseum stuff, or some of the all the super bosses and all the summons are all fought in Chadley's VR with the same background, and I did not like that. It felt so weird fighting the final boss of that game and doing all the challenges with like Zack as a playable character in the arena, and it was just in this weird cyberspace arena. I thought it looked very lame, but there's a whole lot added to this world. It gave a lot of texture and context to the world itself without shoving it in your face. But again, the map structure, the Ubisoft towers, Chadley talking to you nonstop, hand holding you, the checklist, that stuff can go. And they talked about it and they said they're going to do that in the third part. So
Improved here with the addition of complex party-based combat and Aerith, and God of War is improved here with an actual good reason to have all those RPG stats and Aerith, and Spider-Man is improved here with the addition of Fantasy Imagination and Aerith. FF7 is not improved by adopting instincts and systems from Horizon, God of War, and Spider-Man. One
that is incredibly reductive. It's just boiling things down to, in his favor, obfuscation of information that gives more context to why they do these things, some of these things, and they're not copying Spider-Man and God of War because they're PlayStation titles or whatever. They are inspired and trying to reach a new audience. At the same time, they are adding a lot to the game that tells more of a story than they could with just dialogue. I gotta stop pausing
for
and
the
talking
Rebirth
every 2
defenders in the room. How much did you like the crafting system? Were you of the belief that the story, characters, and gameplay of Final Fantasy VII needed a AAA open world game's crafting system? Was lore from a random side NPC enriched for you by having to scan 3 different life springs?
Look at that.
So this is where I agree with him on this part. The crafting thing, it's totally optional. It was just something to do in the overworld. It was something they added that would give you something to do while you're walking from point A to B. It's not anything special. It's not even trying to be anything special. It's just something more that you can do in the open world. But I will say that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, one way or the other. I don't think the experience is increased or diminished by having this system in there. It is just kind of there. And it's to preoccupy people as they travel from point A to point B, or going in exploring areas they haven't before.
You've stumbled upon a life spring. Why don't you try scanning?
Yeah,
Confirmed.
this was fun
Received.
the first couple times.
Cloud, by analyzing the life spring.
Investigate ruins using a hot and cold treasure hunt minigame.
Hey, Cloud. It seems that
That was in Final
transmuter
Fantasy
chip is
IX,
buried
and
in your
everybody
body.
praised it then,
You
so I
should
don't
be
know what
able
the
to
problem is
sniff it
there.
out. Excellent. It seems you found the transmuter.
Scan a 4th life spring.
Cloud.
See, again, that was disingenuous. He already knows where the location is, and to make his point with this video, to make it have more backing to it, he was just waiting in that spot to show, well, I'm already here, ready to go. So this is just pointless, you know, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, he's just being disingenuous with his criticisms. Because I did all these, and they're just kind of little fun things to do, a little nod at Final Fantasy IX. Because one thing that I realized while playing through these games and seeing the stuff for Revelations, it's not just a celebration of 7, it's a celebration of all the original Final Fantasies, and they try to fit in little tiny things here and there from all the Final Fantasies. Because in a way, this is a lot of the original developers' last hurrah for how things were.
You should be able to sniff it out. Excellent. It seems you found the transmuter.
Scan a 4th life spring.
Cloud. That data has revealed an intriguing side.
Complete a high-level bounty activity.
Entered the territory of a unique fiend. However,
Oh my god.
our heroic victory over that vicious creature was a
Yeah, this girl, I forgot who the fuck she even is. And Chadley's so annoying. I wish they never added him. Oh yeah, AI was an AI companion. MAI. Oh my god. I forgot about that. Mako AI, I think it was or something. Anyway, again, disingenuous. He acted like the bounty was nothing, but all the bounties are unique boss fights. Every single one of them has you play the game a different way. They all have different mechanics to them, like the Mind Flare. Like, what is he talking about? He just glanced over. It's like, oh, it's just a thing to do. It's just a little thing to glance over, something to fill the game world.
Then gather ore and grind mobs to acquire materials.
You should now be able to craft the
And use the crafting system to make the item they wanted. And if you do say you enjoyed that, do you even remember what the item you were crafting was? Try to recall it now. For all that effort, it must have been something compelling as all hell, right?
It was a valve. It's like a gear, a valve, and something else.
It was one windmill gear. Cool. This isn't even cherry picking either. There are multiple quests that take the high level bounties to complete, and the high level bounties demand a certain number of life springs to unlock, which means a repetitive chain of checkboxes is repetitively deployed. Extremely literally, that is not an opinion. Repetition within repetition is just literally what that is. The opinion is deciding whether repetitive checkbox loops is good or not, and if that is good to you, then I want better things for you. I want to be very clear about the point that I am trying to.
That is a very pretentious statement. If you like something, then I want you to like other things that I think are better. I don't really like the repetition, but they are filling out the game world to prepare for the final game, and a lot of things that they do to justify making the game world as big as they are some of these things and activities that they do. And it was also their first open world game that they have ever made. Like, it had stuff in it. I'd rather have all this shit than have Final Fantasy 15 where it's fucking barren. And at least all the fights, all the boss fights we get to, all the hunts are unique and fun and interesting. And all the mobs in the open world are fun and unique and interesting. Whereas 15, they copy and paste a lot of enemies everywhere. It's big empty stretches of literally nothing until you get to a copy and paste dungeon.
To make here. I am not saying it is bad to have a crafting system in your game. I am not saying some modern AAA games have crafting systems and that's a bad thing. I am making the point that the crafting system in Rebirth is only in Rebirth because Square thinks crafting systems are a thing a mass market game is supposed to have.
You didn't check out interviews with other people talking about this. It wasn't because they thought that it was, the better thing to do because other games are doing it, but it's because it's what the developers making the game liked. Some of these people are people who played Final Fantasy 13, and this crafting system is kind of reminiscent of 13's crafting system, and they liked that. And so as the developers, they put that in there.
Rather than being an interesting or creative part of the FF7 experience, and they are failing to find a use for it here. They have decided...
It's like, I do agree with him, the crafting is like, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's in the game or not. That's not the problem. It's how he's presenting the information that I have a problem with.
On having this system in FF7, worked backwards to justify it, and come up with a system that is a flat joke compared to the crafting of, say, The Witcher 3. Oh, there it is, a comparison they have directly invited. And you may ask, well, how do you know they're working backwards to justify the mechanic? And the answer is, this is a remake of a game that has been considered, for decades, complete. every addition to the game they're remaking must work backwards to justify itself. Do I think an insipid crafting system is the game's greatest crime? Of course not. The Kate Sith section is the greatest crime. I do think...
Okay, 100% agree on that one. I'll give him that. The Kate Sith part of the game is the worst piece of shit in the whole entire thing. I understand why they did it, though. Because, again, as I was saying earlier, they couldn't fit, like, a boss fight. Because of how old games were, where you just, like, go into a battle and... they like a random battle, and then it transitions to a battle screen, and then the whole world kind of changes. And again, obfuscation of what's actually happening, and they trust you to understand what's going on. We don't have that in this game. Everything is actually real and like tangible now. They couldn't fit a giant boss at the top of the stairs in a little cramped room. So they made this big, long fucking section where you have to play as Kate Sith and unlock doors, and it's really boring, and you have to do a box breaking mini game. It is the worst part of the game. I hate that part. Every time I played through the game twice, one through normal, one through hard mode. When I had to do it again, I just wanted to get it over with. It is the worst part of Remake and Rebirth. So I agree with him there. However, him saying that the game was considered complete, they can't just one-to-one recreate that game. Again, the reason why that game worked is because of obfuscation. Because the world map was barren, it just gave you the representation of a world, just a world in general. And it trusted you to imagine what would happen between those sections and you getting those fights and everything, blah, blah, blah. So they could go on the route of like Final Fantasy, like Expedition 33 or Type 0, where they were normal size and then the world was like really tiny and they would walk through the world like they did in the first game with those few points there. But they wanted to try pushing things further, and even if they did do that, the level of gameplay that was present in old turn-based games, especially old Final Fantasies with all the scene changes, all the towns, all the enemies and assets that those games have, you couldn't reasonably do in AAA now. And it's not Seven or Square's fault exactly. There are some things that is their dumbass ideas, but there are just some things with modern AAA game development that have proceeded the last 15 years, 16-ish, because of games like Call of Duty and pushing for graphical update after graphical update after we went from Super Nintendo to N64 and PlayStation, and then those to 2, and then those to 3, and seeing the graphical leaps. Then people are pushing for, we want more realism, and then it slowed down until 2020. And so because of that, AAA have kind of been co-opted by suits from outside the gaming hemisphere, and they've been forced to become displays of graphical fidelity and try to become more realistic, which is why Kingdom Hearts 3 reset its development for the engine, and also they wanted it to be more realistic. The higher ups did. That kind of mindset from the fans, the consumers, has poisoned the well and muddied what games should be. And these guys wanted to just make an open world Final Fantasy game and do it justice. It couldn't have just been done in one game. But my big criticisms for a remake is that they do take those sections. Like his criticisms for Rebirth match remake much more, where they take like, oh well, you're falling out of the train in Sector 5 and you're going through the slum, or not slums, but the sewer train tracks area to get to the reactor. They stretched that like 20 minutes of gameplay into like 5 hours, when they promised and said that we were going to see more of Midgard than we ever had before. The impression was we were going to see more parts of Midgard, because we only go to sections 5, 6, and 7, and 8. So we only go to half of them. Maybe we'll see the other half. And then being bigger and everything, that would make a lot of sense. But instead they added pointless little filler quests that are really boring and tedious, and some of the mini games are fun, some of them aren't. And then they stretched out all those parts to like 5 hours, and then they did the bike scene twice for some reason, instead of it being like the we're leaving Midgar part to justify its inclusion because of how AAA game development is. So in the current hemisphere of how modern AAA games are made, I think these guys are doing the best they can with how things are. I would have liked them to have remade Final Fantasy 15 back in 2006 on the PS3, but they were working on Versus and 13, so that wasn't on the table. But, it is what it is. And for what it is, it doesn't replace the original, it complements the original and many other games in the franchise. And it is still a widely enjoyable experience. There are parts of it that are bad, but the original does some things better. This does some things better, and you could both enjoy them for the differences between them.
Think that it's a useful Rosetta Stone for the other uninspired mass market game choices in this game, however. Whenever something is changed, why was it changed? Was it coming from somewhere inspired or creative, or, like the crafting obviously shows, was it implemented because they were playing Follow the Leader? The combat is a lovely...
It's just reductive. They were not playing Follow the Leader, and his representation of the information is annoying at best.
example of the other end of this scale. We know that publishers are antsy about...
I gotta get better at just watching videos, because we've been here for probably 20-30 minutes, and I've just been ranting. I need to get better at that, so I apologize. We'll watch more of it. It just sometimes how my brain works. If it's not front and center of my brain, I forget to talk about it, or forget what I want to say about it. I don't know why my brain works like that. Yeah, this is unfortunate because this is true. Final Fantasy 3 creators, their influence, because Square Enix were the biggest games besides Nintendo. They were the biggest games for Final Fantasy 7 and 10 and stuff. They were system sellers. They brought games, JRPGs from the to the West. They finally broke through that barrier. They did so many new and innovative things that when they were outclassed by Call of Duty, selling 5x or more times what their game did, them and all the other Japanese studios who have made video games what they are kind of got jealous, and they wanted to catch up to what Call of Duty was doing and get to those numbers, and they chased that for a long time, and they continued doing that with live service games and stuff, because they thought that they deserved that recognition and money that Call of Duty was getting, because they did turn the gaming landscape into what it was. And so 13 and a lot of other games were kind of punished for it by bad decision making from these people. That's why Final Fantasy 13 was more militaristic looking and had simpler gameplay implementation, we'll say. Also, it's trouble development.
Being able to sell turn-based RPGs at a AAA level nowadays. It is definitely possible that the action RPG combat has a market angle, but there is so much unique stuff in this combat system, we can see they're doing it in service of thrilling creative ideas. They worked backwards to reshape FF7 into an action game, but they had cool ideas and great execution for the final product. One of the weirder places that Rebirth tries to cosplay the mass market games it wants to be is in the structure of the game and how that affects the telling of its story. I'm going to start by offering some grace. Blowing the remake project out to 3 games is, in my opinion, entirely reasonable. The workload in making FF7 now is an order of magnitude different than it was in the 90s for millions.
Okay, I will apologize to this guy. the way he presented his information up until this point and when he first brought this topic up, I thought he was going to say that it was a complete game and then this whole thing was pointless. He's being completely reasonable here, and I should just watch before I yap. I'll watch a little bit more and continue. Yeah, I am a yapper at heart, for real, for real. Uh, oh, I almost forgot about Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is so cool in this game.
Millions of reasons, and splitting the work into 3 releases makes that possible. Taking issue with this is not invalid, but it is really taking issue with the nature of HD game development nowadays. With this in mind, the middle installment...
Okay, see, that's respectable. That's understandable. This is one of the few things that he has brought out in, I don't want to say good faith, because that word's thrown out everywhere nowadays, but yeah, because like, look at this. We don't ever get to go to the top plates. We only go to one top plate in Remake. We are on the bottom plates where all the slums are, and we only go to 5 through 8. I was hoping we could go to see these fucking huge cities and shit. I mean, I was overthinking it, but I'm like, is this gonna be the GTA of Final Fantasy? And since we're gonna have an airship and we could just parachute anywhere we fucking want to, I'm coping that we can just fly into these city areas and just walk around. Because honestly, it's not too big. This one city area is like, I would say like a fourth of Grand Theft Auto city map. Grand Theft Auto 6's, or sorry, 5's city map. So like 4 of these is like the entire city of Grand Theft Auto 5. So they could have done it. Because this game came out 7 years after that. And we could have spent more time, like, they could have had the story beats where they were, but we could have, like, explored more of Midgard. We could have had more of a reason to go around into the city and stuff and do things in the city instead of being stuck to the slums the entire time and then just doing the same things we did before, but longer. That's what I thought they were meaning by doing a remake of this game, so I will give criticism to that. Now, that might change in the 3rd game, and we'll see. I don't think it will, but if it does, I'll be impressed and amazed. If it doesn't, I'll be a little disappointed, but it's what it is.
Was always going to have a hard time providing a satisfying structure. This is not the thrilling kickoff, the fondly remembered 10 hours of cinematic roller coaster that was the original game's Midgar chapter. This stretch of
the original Midgar chapter was not 10 hours. The original Midgard chapter, people are usually like people who are experienced with it. It'll take like 2 to 3 hours, and the first timers are usually 5 hours.
Game covers tons of different locations, characters, moods, and mechanics, which is an astonishingly different workload than the more linear kickoff and finale. So, knowing that is the case, why was the game made exponentially longer than the original? Why did they make 28 minigames, which would all need discrete concept, testing, and execution? Why are there 7 regions? The only answer is, mass market open world games are big. Open world games have lots of stuff.
No, he's going back to it again. Hold on.
Open world games brag about how much bigger and longer their open worlds are than others. And without an...
They do that because fans have been clamming for like the last 20 years since Oblivion and Skyrim really blew up and like GTA. Everybody wants open world game everything, and I'm so sick of it. I'm tired of open world games. But that's not why Rebirth did it. Again, I think that's disingenuous to just say, oh, popular thing happening, so that's why they do. Even though that is something higher management and Square Enix is probably pushing for, I don't think that's what Nomura and the other guys would want. Nomura, Kitase,
story to
Nojima.
sensibly spread across it, they fill up the space
Hamaguchi.
with lots of little stuff. There isn't enough story to accommodate 90 hours of mass market AAA open world game in the chunk of FF7 they've carved out here. So, rather than release a tight, mechanically clear, artistically dense, well-paced adventure, one which would perfectly serve a story about following right on the heels of a madman and always falling just one step behind, There's just a ton of shit to do because Square Enix has looked at their peers and determined there's just a ton of shit to do in those. And then, when cutscenes come, they are not handled in ways that are satisfying or interesting because these events were initially written for a game where plot beats were intended to develop every 30 minutes. You just get hung up or fragmented conversations where things that need addressing are never addressed. In the original game, Tifa hears Cloud's telling of the Nibelheim incident and knows that it's not the truth, but the party is on to the next plot beat before she can build up the courage to address it. In Rebirth, Tifa addresses concerns with this story, but Cloud responds with aggression and Aerith has to try and patch things up for them. All of these are really solid character beats, and in any real relationship, this would make it impossibly uncomfortable to be around each other without the truth coming out. But this status quo sticks for hours and hours as we are released to the open world checklist tasks and fetch quests. Character-focused side quests cannot release the tension from these beats because the main story has to work with or without those character-focused side quests being completed. Worst of all, even if they are completed, the main story has to work with the knowledge that you could complete them at totally random times. This wasn't a problem for Remake, where the side quests occupied dedicated periods of the game and served immediate narrative purposes. Settling into Sector 5 as you got to know Aerith while completing side quests together was a focused part of the game you couldn't return to later, but enriched what came after if you chose to do them. This wasn't a problem for the original FF7, which did not need 36 side quests to tell the story and create its world. This slavish commitment to cheating off the homework of other mainstream games seeps into every corner of Rebirth, and this is most obvious in its dismal open world.
Okay, I couldn't hold it in anymore. All the side quests in Remake did not enhance what happened going forward, narratively or not. That's not true. And then you can complete this game almost the same exact way you played the original. You can go from A to B and not touch anything, and it'll have almost the same level of narrative consistency and beats with the new stuff that they added as the old one. They are trying to make a new game with more story and more things happening in it, and that's what they do. Like the Gongaga stuff, that's a completely optional place in the original that gets heightened and kind of more interesting to tell a story in the third game as well. But you can skip all this open world content. It is optional. It is there for you. Well, the whole point of Rebirth is so you can get familiar with the world and learn to love it so you have a reason to save it. So they put a lot of optional things for you to do to give you things to occupy you for side content, but it's not necessary. And that's what it bugs me so much about everyone's criticism for this game. There's too many mini games, there's too many side quests, there's too many objectives in the open world. Like this checklist shit here on the left, where it's like, oh, there's 5 quests to do here, and then 6 to do here, and then 5, blah, 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 blah. And then like the hunts, and then like the card games. Like, this shit is stupid. I hate this. If you didn't know about this stuff, and it wasn't so formulaic with some of the other quests, and you just found them in the open world like the original, no problem with it. But it's also completely optional. You do not need to do any of this. You can go from point A to point B and complete this game's story in about 25-30 hours. Which is honestly not that much more than the original. Because all the storytelling in Final Fantasy VII is on disc 1 and 2, and 3 is a bunch of extra shit. Disc 1 goes through Midgar in about 3 to 5 hours, and then the next, like, I think about 30 hours, 20 to 30 hours on that disc, are you going through all of the Rebirth stuff. You do everything you do in Rebirth for the rest of that game. So it's not that much different narratively if you just go through the grasslands and get to the Mithril Cave after doing the Chocobo Ranch and going to Junon to the freighter that takes you to Costa del Sol, then going through the Coral region to get to the Gold Saucer, then going to Gungaga, which was completely optional in the original, made into a main story beat here with new fascinating storytelling here. Then you're going to Cosmo Canyon. To add Gungaga, they did skip out on the Rocket Town, but that's being re-added in the third game. But then you go to Nebel, where you finish things off. And, well, this is the thing that bugged me. The Northwood, there's supposed to be Bone Village here, and it's supposed to lead to the Northwood, which leads to where the Ancients are, the City of the Ancients. But instead of Bone Village being there, it's actually the Temple of the Ancients, which is supposed to be way down here, like right down here somewhere. I mean, this doesn't show the whole map, so it's a little further down here. But yeah, it's like way, way down here somewhere. But they moved it up here. They removed Bone Village. They confirmed Bone Village isn't coming back in the third game. It's gone, which is okay. And then it kind of makes more sense because it's a Temple of the Ancients right next to the City of the Ancients, but at the same time, the Temple of the Ancients, I mean, having it in more places in the world means that there was more places than one isolated place right here. Anyway, but yeah, the narrative beats are exactly the same for the most part, besides Gungaga. And it takes place of Rocket Town for this game. You can get through this game in 30 hours, roughly the same time, 20 to 30 hours of getting from Midgar to here. If you wanted to do the extra stuff, because they wanted to craft this open world, because I think this kind of ends to a meme again. They're going to be adding a shit ton of stuff to all these areas and have it more like the original game. But because how game development is, they couldn't just do it all in one game. It would be subpar, so they did this. And they added a bunch of mini games because the original had a bunch of mini games. Now, it was different. The original had mini games in maps and stuff. And as you'll play more Final Fantasies, you'll see they integrate mini games into the map design itself. And they did that here some places, but then they added the mini games to so many other places. Bone Village got cut 0 out of 10. That's what a lot of people are actually saying. Crazy enough, people are saying Bone Village not there. And you know what Bone Village was? It was literally just the place where you could dig up shit. That's all you did at Bone Village. You would go there to find a harp that would allow you to get through the North Woods without getting lost. That's all its purpose was there. It was filler for the original game. Now you could do other things there by doing a mini game to find other items, and there's a way to cheat and get Bahamut Zero, the final Bahamut summon, early in the game. Because it was a failsafe in case you missed the optional huge materia quest and didn't get the huge materia. But yeah, there's really nothing to do in Bone Village, and people are writing and saying like, "Oh well, this game is a piece of shit now." My only gripes with the world map is that every area is walled off by mountains more than the original, and that the Temple of the Ancients was moved up here. I don't really care too much about Bone Village, even though I like that place, because it was very much like a Jurassic Park looking place. because there was like a real world fighter jet buried there, but then also like dinosaur bones and stuff everywhere. I have a theory that in the third game, they said terrain has shifted. Sorry. They said terrain has shifted because the weapons were summoned after the events at the beginning of the game, and they terraformed a lot of places before. So I'm hoping that that's just they had to do this to get the game. I think to get the game running while they were trying to figure things out. But now that they have it figured out and they modified the engine more, they're able to process load things much better now that they've optimized it so much. Excuse me. And all these mountain ranges are going to be broken down, and it's going to be in the same shape as the original 7 was now. And all these places are going to be new again. And there's going to be giant weapons roaming the world now. And it's going to be so good. I have my criticisms for these games, but the overall experience that I get from them is far more than anything else. This guy's upset because he feels like it's replacing the original. I can tell. But at least not for him, but for like the general consensus is that it's replacing the original. But we don't know what they're going to do with the third game. And I'm hoping that they're going to do something wild and different, crazy like the Evangelion movies did. Because it's the same kind of thing where it's a resequel, you know?
I don't know why we're dancing around calling the open world what it is, so I'll be the one to say it. The open world doesn't work, but it's here and it's presented the way it is because this is how the big open world games do it. The towers are here because of the long history of Ubisoft towers. They are not here because...
That is correct. But they also build world building and add to the world that people were building in these areas, trying to create communication between zones. The original game is just flatlands. Again, it's storytelling. I don't like what they provide in the game, but they tell you about a war that has happened throughout the world and how some rebellious factions or some other people defying Shinra try to build communications between each other with those radio towers. They are a lot of his criticisms I would take more seriously if he wasn't just saying, "Oh, they're just copying what modern game do." It's clearly not the case.
Because any designer at Square was extremely passionate about climbing towers to fill out the map. They are not here because a designer at Square Enix believed that FF7 was incomplete without towers to fill out the map. Also, is it just me or is the mechanic of climbing up circular platforms to check off a tower and then rappelling down kind of like a way less cool version of Horizon's Tallnecks?
Somehow part 3 will tie into Dissidia and the final boss is Chaos Sephiroth. I mean, that's what Nomura's been trying to do for a while. He started the whole multiverse thing, and he really wants to like make Final Fantasies connect with each other, even though Sakaguchi never did. But if that happened, that'd be kind of sick, honestly. Then we're gonna get Jack Garland popping through the screen. He's like, Cloud, we need to kill Chaos together. But Chaos is my sexy boyfriend. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
See, I can say something nice about Horizon. And again, the open world is here because every mass market open world game does it, but then they do.
He's just repeating his information over and over again to make it seem like his point has more weight to it.
Do the open world so badly. The best open worlds, like those in Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild, use the environment, colors, and dynamic points.
I'm sorry, Breath of the Wild does not do open world well. I'll say that right now. It does not. It is more Ubisoft than Final Fantasy VII is.
Of interest to inspire a flow state through the environment, where each curiosity leads to an interesting new discovery and progressively inspires greater curiosity. By the 10-hour mark in Breath of the Wild, you and the game have established a bond of trust with each other. If you see something interesting and put in the work to go there, something interesting will be waiting to reward you for it.
No, the thing that'll be waiting for you is destructible weapons, or sometimes a pretty vista, or a copy and paste dungeon that's a mini puzzle. Yeah, what a great reward. I went through all this shit to get a fire sword, great sword, that's lodged in the stump platform in the middle of a lake. This looks fucking sick. I'm glad I went through all that work. Oh, it's broken. I swung it 3 times and it's broken. The world's empty because Ganondorf has been attacking people, and like there's only a little settlements left, so there's not a lot of dialogue. Cool. And then there's copy and paste dungeon after copy and paste dungeon with little uh mini puzzles. With the 4 big dungeons in the game just being the same thing but bigger. There's nothing unique about them, and they're solved incredibly quick. There's no substance to Breath of the Wild. There's cool things in Breath of the Wild, but there's so much things that are so annoying about that game.
Now compare this to Rebirth, which fails at every aspect of this.
Every aspect. Using absolutes, huh? It does absolutely everything wrong, huh? That's when I don't take criticism, when people use absolutes to say it is the worst piece of shit. It does everything wrong. It's just their emotional appeal in video form. Oh, hey, good. The thing is done. All right. So now we can add mods and shit to all the Kingdom Hearts games. Let me move this real quick. Okay. Let's see if it works this time.
All discoveries are just markers spat onto your map, ready to be ticked off a checklist, while Chadley yells in your ear about marking off this checklist.
Those points I agree with wholeheartedly. I think they're too worried about people missing things, and, you know, honestly, it's not completely them. A lot of people complain and cry in Elden Ring where they're like, oh, there's so much missable stuff. I want to do everything in one playthrough. I love missable content. I love having to go back through a game that I love and find more things that I never knew about. Like my recent playthrough of Elden Ring, I found more new shit that I've never done before. I got a new armor set, that the hollow set or whatever from Dialos or whatever. The coolest armor in the game. I didn't know I could do any of that. I didn't know. And like I love doing that. So it's the gamers, and it's also decisions that they made. Regardless, it's a bad decision to have the checklist, and it's a bad decision to have Chadley even exist.
Proto-relic signals emanating from near.
There is no possible flow state through the environment, as every single point of interest causes a stop for characters to yell about what you're supposed to do.
The signal is growing stronger. Perhaps there is a proto-relic.
Natural discovery is impossible.
No, they don't force you to go through all that. You don't have to listen to them. You can just go to those points. They do help and try to help you because they think you're dumb and can't figure it out yourself. But there are points of interest, and when you go there, you don't have to listen to them. You don't get stopped by them. You just do the thing, dude.
Because there's a point of interest at anything that matters. Think back to the original, where every discovery allowed you to stumble into it. Final limit breaks, ultimate weapons, entire characters and storylines were spread around FF7 and never called attention to themselves, making the world feel bigger and more textured for simply existing. Sure, you've heard of Ruby Weapon and Emerald Weapon, but did you know about the ancient forest only unlocked after defeating Ultimate Weapon?
Oh yeah.
Did you find the Sunken Gelnika, a hidden in-game
Oh
dungeon
yeah, where
at the bottom
Hades
of
is?
the ocean, which, depending on when you find it, may have an entire Reno and Rude fight you never knew about? And if you did know these things, did you find them because a point was put on your map and someone in your ear yelled at you about checking it out? Would it have been more fun to discover these things if they were popped in your journey and Chadley told you to go to them? It's insane to me that the Elden Ring, if it was made by Ubisoft meme, was so widespread. Yet Rebirth is hailed as a great open world. Hi, Editor Raven here. I just needed to bring to your attention while I was pulling screenshots and quotes from this review. Some of the wording, I think we've gone in a time machine back to 2007. After a fairly linear opening chapter to set the stage, welcome back players and give a Barrett-size slap on the back to newbies. Each region in the world map is not only run ragged by fiends, I don't think they know that's a negative thing, and foes to battle in the wild, but has more side quests and activities than Yuffie has tantrums. I'm hypercritical, and the direction of the heroes and story give me more of an anxious heart than a mid-fight 10,000 needles prompt. Anything I felt was a shortcoming with the remake has been rectified in Rebirth and blown away as if caught in an Aroga spell. 50 hours in, I've not even come close to reaching my limit break yet.
Oh, hold on. I took some psychic damage for that. Okay, I gotta brace myself. Hold on. What the fuck? What the fuck are they talking about? It's like they threw in Final Fantasy VII things and threw it into an AI machine, which I'm pretty sure, I'm fucking pretty sure, most journalists are just throwing shit into an AI because they can't be asked to do their job and play through an entire game. Oh shit. Sorry, I gotta click this thing again. My bad. Oh wait. Oh shit. Wait, I'm gonna check something real quick. Sorry, we've been here for like like an hour chatting, and we've only gone through 20 minutes. Let me check something real quick, and I might go grab some water in a second. But yeah, the I don't like gaming journalists. I don't like articles. I think I did it again. So you would listen to those people who interacted with those mediums, so you can better figure out what was worth your time. But now it's kind of in the reverse, where we have those more passionate people writing reviews. Oh my god. Oh, that's fucked up. You know, okay, I gotta restructure this whole thing. God dang it. Sorry. I was trying to like think about something as I was doing it, and that's usually not a good idea for me, for being honest here. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so journalists. We used to go to journalists and reviewers because, or critics really, because they were more involved with the medium that we wanted to be involved with, and they had they usually had a outside perspective from experiences they've had in outside of video games, because video games were so niche that when they came to the table, they had something insightful to say a lot of the time to make you really think about what this game is about and if it's for you. And we would listen to them about that. But as time has gone on, we have the more passionate people. They're the players now. They spend more time with it. There's much more of us, and so user reviews are far more informative than actual critic reviews. Critic reviews don't really tell you shit about a game anymore, and they've been trying to sell narratives for the last like 10 years about a lot of shit since, like, millennials. Have really gotten into the game space, but also they're really bought out. It's clear that they've been bought out. A lot of these motherfuckers have been bought out. Yeah, let me try something here. Okay. Then we'll do this one. Okay. And then we'll do this one. Wait, do we want to do that one? No, we'll do this one. Okay. And then we'll do this one. Okay. And then we'll do this one. Okay. And then we'll build. Huh? Okay. Maybe I have to close it and restart it because something happened. Let's see. Like, I don't trust any critics or reviewers anymore. I always feel that they don't have everybody else's interests at heart.
Look out, video games, the metaphor wizard has arrived. Actually, while I'm here, I was going through the Metacritic just so that I can go and like feel crazy again. And the reviews for this are like strange, like not strange, but like this has perfect scores from like Games Hub, Game Spew, Gaming Bible, GG Recon, Hey Poor Player, IGN, Adria. Have you heard of many of these places? ZTGD Atomics, App Trigger, Bozzy Center, Gamer Sky, Oyun Geezer, Player 2. It's weird. It's not even like, but why though? It's not even, it's not like there's anything wrong with smaller publications getting stuff. There's certainly nothing wrong with.
No, I think it's AI. A lot of people do this now. A lot of big corporations, they will send out AI reviews, and they got caught recently, which stopped a lot of them, but they'll send out a bunch of AI reviews from AI publications or AI users and shit. It's really cringe.
With more review copies being sent out that theoretically should invite more scrutiny. I'm just thinking of the fact that like smaller publications tend to have a tendency to score a little bit higher because it's such a rarity for them to end up with review copies for such a major release. Not saying there's a conspiracy or anything, it's just Carol Quintain, and then if you click on the review score for this, what looks like not a publication but a single person, it just takes you to a dead page. I don't know, it's just weird. I also don't think anybody's been talking about this. It's just like weird. There's multiple PC specific sites that have reviews for it, even though the game's PC port was like nowhere close to out at the time. It's just weird. These reviews are like just kind of weird. I recommend looking into them. It's strange. Rebirth is the open world they were making fun of. Breath of the Wild arrived 2 years before Rebirth entered development. And despite the original FF7's open world being closer to Breath of the Wild's chase your curiosity and find your adventure concept, Square Enix instead chose to chase the more bland open world, pushed by Horizon, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and so on. And perhaps worst of all, the open world has to scream our checklists at us because the environment layout is so chaotic and unclear.
His review so far is like looping back to information he's said over and over and over and over again. Like the last 20 minutes talking about this open world section has been him saying open world bland, copying other popular games, nothing important in the open world, copying open world games. He's kind of wasting a lot of time here.
Elevation regularly making paths difficult to parse, and points of interest rarely, if ever, connecting in a satisfying way. Gongaga is the best example of this.
The single worst design open world space in the history of video games, Gongaga. Very strongly recommend.
I don't listen to anybody who talks like this, so I will not be listening to Skill Up. Because when they say the worst ever hyperbolic statements, it's just clickbait, it's just to get people to click on their videos or watch their videos or to illustrate their point more because they feel very emotional about it. I cannot in good faith trust people because I'm repeating myself a shit ton. I've already have a lot, I know, but when people say absolutes and they just say it's the worst ever, it's completely pointless, there's nothing good about it, that's not critiquing, that is you making an emotional appeal. And when we are trying to critique something, we're trying to separate our emotions from that to critique it, to make it unbiased. But obviously, he has a large bias for the original. He's very emotional about this. He didn't like it. He has every right to voice his opinion, and I'm glad he is. But at the same time, when he makes statements like this, I can't take him seriously. There's hardly ever completely 100% negatives or positives to anything. And so the fact that he's not highlighting good aspects of this game, and he's just trying to talk about all the negative parts about it, as if there's nothing good about it, and says that there's nothing good about these things, I don't really feel like I'm taking anything away from his review at all. Like, I feel that way. Like, and when I say I can't take anything at all, it's more about when he talks about these absolutes, I can't take away. But when he talks about a few positive parts, or he has some real criticisms, like the Mog stuff, the Kate Sith and Mog stuff, and he's being honest with those parts, at least what I feel is more honest, then I'm taking something away from that. It's not just because I agree with it, but I can see the logic in it. Other than that, I feel it's just an emotional rabble where he's just appealing to absolutes because he wants his point to be made. And that's when I don't take anything from all those points. But he does make some valid points in this video. He does. And I do agree with him on a decent amount of things so far.
And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to you.
With half the map accessible only through a single pathway which is never adequately communicated, constant changes in elevation which just feel terrible because anytime you ascend over a lip it feels disconnected and janky, and the first jumping pads in gaming history that discourage movement as they're really just warps which don't communicate landing points. Whenever a sequence doesn't work, or a system doesn't feel good, or the checklist goes on too long, I always look to Rebirth's peers and try to sort out who Square was copying off of that day. The answer never comes back to a legitimate creative instinct in the development team because this development team never chased bold creative instincts at all. Honestly,
Never.
Here's a question. What does a sword do? If you answered cut things, pierce things, slice things apart, then you would be right, but you would not be accurately describing Cloud's sword. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Cloud Strife does not wield a sword. He wields a magical sleepy time friendship baton, which in extremely select moments turns into a sword, at which point everyone in Cloud's vicinity gets extremely concerned, presumably because they too know that slashing people is not the intended function of Cloud's weapon. Case 1. In Coral Prison, two goons jump Cloud. Cloud slices the ever-living hell out of them with his massive sword. The fight ends and the two goons, still in nearly perfect fighting shape, apologize for their actions and leave. Case 2. In the Temple of the Ancients, soldiers who have kidnapped and massacred and destroyed things the party holds dear are in their way. Cloud slices a soldier twice with his massive sword. A small spat of blood hits his face. Barrett and Tifa are aghast at this. Why? In fairness, I will acknowledge two facts of the scene. Cloud tells the soldier a creepy line before killing him, and most importantly, the soldier is surrendering. But still, the spat of blood speaks to the intent being a scene of brutality, and that just doesn't make any sense unless the implication is that Cloud's sword does not cut anyone at any other point in the game. And the most insane thing is, I think that is true. And if that is true, then Cloud's sword truly is not a sword. It is, as those two goons in Coral Prison demonstrated, a bat which neither kills nor knocks people out, and simply casts a magic spell that causes them to see the error of their ways. From this, and only this point of view, is there horror at Cloud's brutality in this scene. He has misused his magic friendship bat and accidentally killed a man with it. What are we doing here? Well, we're doing what Square Enix has been doing since Remake. Scrubbing FF7 of the darkness along the edges of the world and story which gave it moments of aggression, confrontation, or horror. To discuss this in full, we'll need to dip back over to Remake and the fate of Sector 7.
Okay. The reason why that happened there, some spoiler reasons I won't get in with you, but basically Cloud is losing his sanity, and never before in brutality has he taken actions like that against anyone ever. He's usually calm and reserved. He won't go out of his way to kill a unnamed soldier that they don't even know, who has no involvement with anything happening, and just brutally slaughter them as they're basically begging for their life. Usually Cloud is diplomatic. He'll think things through. He'll say, I don't give a shit, but he won't go out of his way to murder people like this. And that's why that was strange. He's acting differently, just like he was in the original game at this point, for spoiler reasons. And no, I'm sorry that Final Fantasy VII can't be a fucking a gore blood fest to appeal to quote-unquote adult sensibilities, because one, they're trying to keep it to a T rating like the original, because the original got away with a lot of those aspects because of the ambiguity again. Like, sure, there are some scenes where there's like trails of blood and stuff, which was really effective in the original, for like the Genova scene and stuff, but nobody was bleeding and getting cut up when Cloud was striking them in the original either. The same thing could be applied to the original as this one. There are a few bits of ambiguity for those horror moments that can only work in the original to keep that rating. They didn't want to go to an M rating. They wanted to keep it like the original and have it have a more broad appeal to it. Or not really so much a broad appeal, but they wanted to keep it as close to the original as they possibly could. So he's not going to go around and start slicing people in half, and it's going to be like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, where he's slicing people up. That'd be really fucking cool, but it would be different from the original game, because Cloud and the gang are not murderers. They fight people who are in their way. They fight people who oppose their worldviews and try to stop them from saving their friends, or, you know, stuff like that. They don't go out of their way to just straight up murder people in cold blood like Cloud does in that scene. Because, yeah, they're enemies, but they've already been defeated. They just got out of a fight, which he didn't mention. They already just fought each other. And all of this guy's teammates have been being blown away in the Temple of the Ancients. And he's given up. He's cowering away from him and basically begging for his life. And Cloud just says, I don't give a shit, and cuts him in half. That's where they were shocked. And yeah, I do wish the Final Fantasy could stick more to its original horror stuff that it was doing. But they couldn't get away with that with the same age rating if they wanted to keep it closer to the original. Plus, if it was rated M, a lot of the meathead gamers, a lot of the normie gamers would be like, where's all the blood and gore, bro? Why is this game so silly? They wouldn't get with the vibe of Final Fantasy VII, which is both a horror game and also a very silly, goofy game at the same time. It was made by, directed, but, well, not directed, but it was creatively produced by a man who had just lost his mother, and there was a lot of dark thoughts going into that game while it was being made, as well as trying to respect life at the same time and show that life is beautiful, while also making an extremely goofy, silly-ass anime game, like the other Final Fantasies. So, I don't think his statements really have weight. He likes to leave out a lot of information, repeat himself, and try to make his point bigger than it actually is. So I don't know. That's why it's tough for me to watch this, because I don't like listening to people like this normally. Like, I don't feel there's much that I could take from his criticism of this game at face value.
In the original FF7, Shinra is informed that Avalanche is hiding somewhere in Sector 7. Given that Avalanche is successfully bombing reactors and doing serious damage to entire districts of the upper plate, Shinra sends in the Turks to destroy the supports holding up the upper plate. The Turks and their soldiers breach Sector 7, in the process injuring Biggs and murdering Wedge and Jesse. The Turks kidnap Aerith, slap her when she speaks up, and detonate the bombs, dooming Biggs and an uncountable number of innocent people to being crushed to death under the weight of another entire city. We watch a newscaster live on air in panic in his final moment of realization. We watch doomed civilians scramble. We pan from a god's eye view of the wreckage into the office of President Shinra, the god of this land, peacefully listening to opera over the massacre that he ordered. This is a perfect scene which upends the entire conflict. From this point forward, you will never, ever need to be convinced to hate Shinra and hate the Turks in particular. Sector 7 is gone, and Avalanche never looks back, shouldering the weight of this all-is-lost moment, including the taking of Aerith, indisputably for nefarious means, to motivate the desperate final play that is assaulting Shinra HQ. The Turks go on to be rivals throughout the game who are framed as Black Ops terrorists, willing to kill, kidnap, and destroy anything in their path. The only reason Shinra even knows to attack Sector 7 is because the Turks collaborate with a trafficking who lords over the slums, and the party recently threatened him. Final Fantasy VII Remake's handling of the scene is complicated. How could that be complicated, you may be asking? Well, as of our current understanding of events, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, the Turks assault the Sector 7 pillar, but almost immediately express hesitation at the grisly nature of the task. Jesse was bullied earlier that day by timeline ghosts attempting to arbitrate the outcome of Final Fantasy VII, whose incomprehensible command of time and space took the shape of making Jesse trip and sprain her ankle. Still not done bullying Jesse, these ghost-like arbiters of fate are implied to intervene when she throws some grenades, burying her under rubble and killing her. The Turks explicitly do not kill her. Biggs is killed by Shinra troopers, but he does not truly die, and his soul is whisked away to a parallel timeline. Wedge is fine. Aerith is hunted by the Turks, but they ultimately do not kidnap her, as Aerith—
Oh my god. So much misinformation. Holy shit, man. They never said that the Turks killed those three in the original game in the first place. And this is also a rebuilding of all the stuff that came after 7. It's not just a remake of 7, it's a remake of all the compilation material. And in all the compilation material, it shows them as extremely remorseful for the shitty things that they did as Turks, but that was their job. And also, before Crisis, showing them as real people. And it made them real people. So they're trying to highlight that in this game. It can't just be one-to-one, because we have 30 years and several compilation titles and stories that change how we view the original cast at that point. The original cast of Turks and everything. It can't just be one-to-one, and it would be boring if it was also one-to-one.
agrees to go with them of her own volition. She is also not slapped, which is fine. This does not motivate the party to assault Shinra HQ, and in fact, Cloud motivates to assault Shinra HQ but is stopped by Tifa, who, in what can only be justified by a pit of abject insanity, suggests that Aerith might be just peacefully returned to the party once Shinra is done with her, and the party decides to go to Sector 7 instead. The plate is dropped.
Hold on, I totally missed what I said. The thing is that all the compilation stuff is considered bad by most fans, 7 fans. Yeah, wrongfully so, because it's the same deal with this guy. They don't like that it's not just the exact same thing as the original game. It's not the exact same tone. It's not doing the same things as the original. They just want to copy paste the original experience because they enjoyed it so much. The compilation was building on ideas that were unfinished or that they couldn't really do in that game because of time constraints. that they were now able to do because Sakaguchi was gone, and they wanted to build on that world. Also, is because it was the most popular Final Fantasy and most popular game they've ever made. But I came from a real genuine place, and all those. We'll go into it with the compilation because I have everything. I have the 2 short stories right here. Like, I have Final Fantasy VII, the maiden who travels through the planet, and one on the way to a smile, and I have The Kids Are All Right, which are a compilation of many, many short stories. Look at all these short stories. Sorry, I want to see what was down there. I never really scrolled past it, but look at all these short stories. These are all not super lengthy, but their length is it's not nothing. And this is talking about those same exact Turks that he's talking about, who were never confirmed that they murdered Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse in the first place. So that part I don't agree with at all. Then getting to the top, I actually do wish that they did do the slap, but oh yeah, Leslie's in this. Yeah, that's why I gotta read this. Because Leslie showed up in part 1, and I was kind of confused who the fuck he was in Remake. But yeah, this gives a whole new context to who the Turks are, like all this stuff. And this is the work of people who've been making all this stuff for 30 years. They're trying to fit it all together. So you can't just tell the story 1-to-1 again. It's the same thing with Sephiroth. You can, but what would that really accomplish? Sure, it'd have a great combat system and great graphics, but there are things that make Final Fantasy VII great because it is the way it is, because of the limitations it has. And frankly, because of that restraint of being a T-rated game and having the obfuscation because they couldn't graphically show these things, it made the original 7 that much more scary when it came to its horror elements. Because a lot of things you had to interpret between dialogue and events happening and things that they show you, there was a little bit of a trust exercise going on between the developers, the story writers, everything, and the player. That wouldn't work if they just remade it 1-to-1. Nobody would have been happy if this was 1-to-1. They would still complain about it and say the original was better. And it is the same thing with all the 7 compilation stuff. They tried doing something new and different while adding to the original game, and nobody liked it because it wasn't just the same. I'm very happy this game is not just the same. I'm very happy. And they're making it make more contextual sense with everything else they did. Also, the whole thing with Biggs being his soul being whisked away to another dimension, that's also not true. That was a little fucky wucky there. Biggs being alive is weird, but it is different, but it's weird.
Aerith might be just peacefully returned to the party once Shinra is done.
Wait, hold on.
That Aerith might be a pit of abject insanity suggests that Aerith might.
Oh, okay, hold on. I gotta rewind more.
She is also not slapped, which is fine. This does not motivate the party to assault Shinra HQ, and in fact, Cloud motivates to assault Shinra HQ, but is stopped by Tifa, who, in what can only be justified by a pit of abject insanity, suggests that Aerith might be just peacefully returned to the party once Shinra is done with her, and the party decides to go to Sector 7 instead. The plate is dropped, and people definitely do seem to die, but for the most part there is some property damage. You even find that the wreckage opened up a dungeon that has no context unless you played Dirge of Cerberus. That is the end of the consequences to the platefall.
It's not. It's the same as the original. And Tifa, I think she said that because she was second guessing if they would give Aerith back. Because she didn't want to go assault Shinra HQ the people who were in charge of what they just did, who killed her family, and lose more people. I think she was just scared because she's also a 20-year-old girl. So I don't see any problem with that. Besides, Cloud is the one who's really... Cloud and Barrett are the ones who are like, we need to assault the building. They're the ones who push for that plan, because Cloud is an ex-soldier with that kind of mindset, and Barrett is a eco-terrorist leader.
Oh, unless you have also purchased the Final Fantasy VII Remake Ultimania, in which case you will appear in my comments telling me that actually everyone in the slum did die, which is only fully clarified in the book. So what you have is a scene that equivocates on all the darkness of the...
Oh, so this doesn't communicate that at all either, huh? Many of the in-game scenes that you're just glossing over don't show this at all, huh? It's only the book. It's only the supplemental material that says they all died. Okay. Alright.
Original, a scene that was totally perfect and functional and compelling already, complicating everything
Nothing is perfect.
with opaque lore and demanding a sequel, a separate book purchase, and a PlayStation 2 spin-off for full understanding of the fate of
That is completely utter nonsense. Dirge of Cerberus came out in 2007. This is, and they clarified this many times, is, again, like I just said, grouping everything from the compilations and putting it together. You don't need that knowledge there. It's still an interesting bit of lore. It leads into the intermission DLC and all that. You don't need to play this game to understand the original, but it is also part of the original series of games and the stories they're trying to tell. The Ultimania Mania is not required whatsoever to infer that everybody in the plate fucking died. It is an entire city that got dropped and is on fucking fire. Obviously they're dead.
Sector 7 and its people. Why are we doing this to a story which was already satisfying and complete? All it took to understand and feel the original set piece was just to be present with it. And yet somehow, in remaking it, the work has been complicated to the point of incoherence. I go into such detail because it's emblematic of the entire tone of Rebirth. Any moment which may provide friction or discomfort is shoved in a corner to make sure no one playing gets too confused or upset. And it's usually handled in overcomplicated fashion.
That's half true, especially with the Kate Sith part here. The original Shinra Minor was much better. And I don't agree with their decision of what they did, but they tried to fit in everything from the original and make it make sense in this new world where it's all 3D and battles take real place in real time.
Let's call this what this is. This is cowardice. If there is
It's not
friction in the
cowardice.
original story, let there be friction. If there is
And there's plenty of friction, the same friction in many story beats from the original that are present in this.
confrontation or horror, let there be confrontation or horror. Do not treat your
And there
audience
are.
like children. We had an incredible time with the original when many of us were children. In the original Final Fantasy VII, you return to Nibelheim after hearing about its destruction from Cloud's flashback and find that it's fine. It's completely disorienting and reaches through the fourth wall as every single shot is maintained from the flashback. You already know your way around town just as Cloud would, but the fact that you know your way around town and every shot is unchanged feels haunted. Has Cloud truly, finally lost it? If he has not lost it, how is this real? The team has no explanations and the town offers no answers. This reaches its peak if Cloud visits his old home, where he finds an aggravated owner telling Cloud to his face that this was never his home and his memories are wrong. What understanding he has of his childhood is wrong. Now the space is not only disorienting but hostile. There is no way to resolve this. The team can only move on or explore the haunted old Shinra.
I'm going to do something that's kind of a sin to Final Fantasy VII lovers like myself. I'm fine with it normally, actually. But there are a lot of stupid shit in Final Fantasy VII. Like, apparently Shinra hired a bunch of rebuilt the town, and then hired a bunch of actors to act like they live there. For what purpose? What does that serve? To hide what happened there with Sephiroth? Kind of, I guess. But they could have just said something like, "Oh, there was a battlefield, or the Mako reactor exploded and exploded on top of the hill," or something. But they hired actors to stay there long term and live their lives there? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's the same thing, like, the leader of Shinra, Rufus, goes to Rocket Town to take the tiny Bronco from Sid. But as we've seen, he has a giant fucking airship named the Highwind. He has giant airships called the the Gelnica that got sunk. He has a battalion of airborne vehicles that he can take to chase Sephiroth. There's nothing special about the tiny Bronco. The tiny Bronco is just a special jet or plane to Sid. It's not like they're trying to chase after Sephiroth, like if they're on a race or something. They're trying to locate the motherfucker in the first place. They have airships. They could be delivered to Rufus's spot faster than it would to go through all the shit that he did in the original game. There are plenty of stupid things. The original plot is not ironclad and impenetrable. There are stupid things that happen in the original game. As much of a masterpiece as it is, there are still weird, stupid things in it. And honestly, the things that really highlight this game and make it special as it is are stuff that was taken from Xenogears when it was the original script that were turned into the game that it was. As masterfully as it does the things that it does well, the strongest writing in most of Final Fantasy besides Tactics was because of another writer who left after Square Enix Squaresoft shafted his opportunity to make those darker games. The horror elements, the alien stuff, the darker tone, the split personality of the main character, the psychology of all of that is from a writer who's not even on this project. It was a script he wrote to make the project, but then he went to make Xenogears with his wife. And they just took those story beats and twisted them into its own thing, which is fine. That's how a lot of things are made. And those are arguably the best parts of 7, though. And it's not even like their original vision for the game. They were just trying to fit a narrative together. Zack was literally made within the last few months of development. Because originally Cloud was just going to be like some like shadow of Sephiroth, basically. I won't go into too much details, but they needed something more compelling than that, and they created Zack. And it was such short notice that Nomura did his illustrations of Zack as a chibi and a full 3D model for rendering in 3D scenes and gave it to the development staff months before the game was about to be shipped out. This game is not perfect. There was a lot of chaos with its development, and despite all that, it came out the wonderful game that it is. But it's not perfect, and I'm not going to act like that it is so I could bash the new game that I don't like. Because I like Rebirth. I like Remake. I think they do more good things than they do bad. And I think that there are things that the original does way better, but some things that this game does way better. I hate this black and white emotional rhetoric that people are so stuck to this day. I want my feelings validated, so I am going to bash this and twist information and act like the original game was perfect. It's so obnoxious. Sorry, I had to rant about that for a second. But hey, look at that. We've been here for 2 hours and we got through 30 minutes.
Leave the mystery
I'm getting better.
behind. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, before stepping foot in the village, Tifa touches a pole and immediately determines that the town was rebuilt. So, alright. That's the Nibelheim mystery solved. To make absolutely sure the player doesn't have to experience challenging emotions like fear or confusion, she clarifies, as if it is required, that it
Again, because we already know the mystery. We have 30 years talking about the scene. It's been referenced in everything. Sephiroth is literally posed in the after fire of Nibelheim in all the supplemental material he's in. Everybody knows this town was actually destroyed. We already know this. We can't just retread the same ground and hope it's the same effectiveness just because we want to tell it to a new generation. It's not going to work. The original game's still there. So obviously it was rebuilt. We already know this as fans. In the universe, it makes sense for Tifa to be like, it's rebuilt. Again, that's obfuscation and probably undersight or oversight from the original development team for what happened there.
is Shinra's doing. Okay, what a deeply informative poll. This is an inconceivable way of delivering a plot twist, but it is also, once again, cowardice. Let us feel uncomfortable. Let us feel disoriented. There is nothing to be gained from doing this. No theme introduced.
You still feel that because now you're like, why the fuck was it rebuilt? Or did other people come in and settle in and rebuild it? We don't know. There's a town here after we just learned that it was destroyed. And now you're wondering, why the fuck is it here? What is happening? There's more context to it now.
Beyond Shinra do weird, bad things, which is well understood a dozen times over by now. There is, however, so much to be lost from doing this. Imagine what could be done with the more populated town in detailed environments if they didn't reveal this. You could have used area traversal to see bits of the rebuilt town that they didn't want you to see. You could have snuck around, eavesdropped on disguised Shinra employees, stepping out of the item shop and seeing everyone in the town square waiting for you, watching you out of the corner.
But see, that doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. Why would they pay for people to pretend that this town is still there? It makes no real logical sense. So that's why they changed it, to make sense, and it's better for it.
Of their eye. Nope, don't worry. They also removed the hostile owner in Cloud's home. Wouldn't want the player to feel too confronted. Now it's a nice old lady singing so she can find her lost cat, which is, of course, an open world side quest.
Oh, dearest kitty, my darling kitty, where could you be?
I didn't like this lady or her cats, I'm gonna be honest.
Other major moments are absolutely shattered by this refusal to go hard when the story needs it. Barrett gets so shafted. Everything grimy and uncomfortable about Coral Prison we previously...
This part, see, this is where I can understand, because what the old Coral Town was turned into and how he handled it and the dying scene was not great. There are points in this game that are lows, but it also has highs.
Disgust means that the meat of his arc is handled with kid gloves. But I cannot emphasize enough how much the handling of the Dine set piece robs it of its power.
Yeah,
you have John Eric Bentley acting up an absolute storm in this scene as he grapples with what has become of Dine, what he allowed to happen to his friend and by extension his home, the madness that takes away the reunion he and Marlene deserve, and Dine dies on top of him. But they just cannot let this bleak moment sit. We cut to the Turks eating fucking ice cream as they drop Palmer, a joke character, in to do an entire boss battle rather than just sit with Barrett in mourning. Even when we return, the game cannot just shut the fuck up and let the moment happen. A shirtless pro wrestler theme park.
Yeah, the Theo thing was stupid, and the Palmer thing was asset reuse because they were originally gonna have Palmer. They were gonna have Rocket Town at the end of this game, and Palmer, you fight him in that thing in Rocket Town. but they cut it and saved it for the next game, and because of where they're going to put it in the next game, which is basically where they go to it the second time, I'm assuming, for the large materia part. It wouldn't make sense to fight Palmer there, especially after what happens pretty much at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII Revelation. So they tried to use him earlier. It's just the dying part was not where they needed to use him. I think they should have been using the buggy and were trying to go to the Gongaga region. But then that's when the Turks and that guy caught up with them. Not what this was, because when Barrett and Dyne are having this moment, Shinra swoops in with soldiers. It was so stupid. This is like the worst narrative part of the game, and then it's followed up by the worst gameplay part of the game. This is the parts of the game I just do not like.
Owner jumps in to ham it up and give the team a jeep. In the original, this scene is quiet and focused and sad, just a somber discussion between two men before one of the game's very few duels. Afterwards, there is no peace or discussion or big cinematic music. Dyne, on the verge of succumbing to what seem to be mortal wounds, throws himself off a cliff, and Barrett is left with his friend's suicide as the screen fades out, all set to the sounds of the whipping wind.
Fear not, friends! Your chariot awaits!
Yeah, I can't justify any of this.
Was that not dramatic enough for the Rebirth team? Was that too bleak an ending? Were they afraid it would be a mood killer? Were they worried our brain...
No, it was an asset thing for a lot of this. They're just trying to get the plot going. I don't agree with how they did it. I think it was bad.
Are scrambled from TikTok and we just start looking down at our phones? If so, well, too bad. That's the game you chose to spend years and hundreds of millions of dollars to remake. Honor what it was doing, or come up with something better, but don't give us popsicles and joke characters to avoid drama and heartbreak. I look back on all of this and recall the abysmal Forspoken trailer with what we all called Joss Whedon dialogue.
Okay, so let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call...
This is the game that they canceled the Final Fantasy XV DLC for. And this is basically what that new God of War Laufey game is going to be.
Earth. I'm seeing a freaking dragon, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a cop. Did I just do that?
We did.
I just moved it with my freaking mind! Yeah, okay, that is something I do now.
And in particular, I remember Austin Walker's tremendous write-up on why it lands so badly. He wrote the dialogue like Forspoken's, which feels it must cool down every bit of fantasy artifice with wry humor, quote, feels ashamed of the world that the lines are being spoken in. All of these attempts to soften FF7 feel like they adore the world these events take place in, but they are ashamed of the emotions those events are meant to inspire. The Rebirth team agrees it's cool and awesome that a duel against Barrett's doomed friend is here, but they wouldn't be caught dead shipping a version of that storyline that makes you feel bummed out. Towards the end of Remake, one of my favorite scenes of full-stop horror in the original was completely ruined. This one isn't a controversial take, I think, because it's likely you know what I'm talking about. Our heroes are...
It's the blood trail from Genova breaking out of containment, and that's all I'll say. I almost spoiled shit for you, but yeah.
Captured in their assault on Shinra HQ, but after going to sleep, they wake up and find doors open, their guard dead, and a trail of blood leading through the tower. The player will notice immediately that the music has changed from the cold corporate melody of the HQ to a discordant piece of omen and judgment bells, and now random battles with strange creatures impair you. In Remake, the scene is ruined. There's just no other word for it. The spooky wake-up is gone, the oppressive vibes are not there, the building is suddenly strangely empty, and the blood trail has been replaced with glowing purple goop. This is so widely disliked there is even a mod just to restore the blood and drop corpses into the path, which immediately restores the sense of horror and unease. Director Naoki Hamaguchi actually commented on this, saying this was a consequence of the age rating they were trying to target. Basically, blood would give this an M rating, and the only way to avoid that was to change the scene. Fair?
Exactly.
Fair. Right? No. Sorry. No. If Final Fantasy VII remade for the modern day would be an M-rated game, then your project, which you have advertised to be Final Fantasy VII remade for the modern day, is an M-rated game. If you're not ready to release an M-rated game at this budget or scale, then you should probably inform the Final Fantasy XVI team. I'm sorry, but we were targeting
16 was more tame than even Final Fantasy VII was. There were some things in it, but it was mostly just a really cheap knockoff of Game of Thrones, and because that's what Naoki Yoshida wanted, and a subpar Final Fantasy game. Not just the combat, the story and characters and everything. So that one didn't earn its M rating. This one is trying to avoid its earned M rating. But they got away with that because, again, of obfuscation and blah, 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 blah.
a particular age rating is not a creatively defensible stance, not when taking years of developers' lives in pursuit of a historically massive project. But that is, of course, everything with Rebirth. The bold choices are never made when something wordy but people-pleasing will do, and nowhere is that more apparent than the ending.
Oh boy, that is... I don't know if I'm ready to tackle that. Yeah, he just keeps repeating himself all throughout the open world segment, through this. He makes some valid points about Coral and everything, but like, well, for the most part, he's just repeating himself verbatim over and over and over and over again. I don't like, they're just copying trends, they're cowards, I just... Wow, he's... Wait, what? Why does he have like a... Holy shit. Like an 11-minute epilogue? The fuck? Closing thoughts? Okay, well, we got through 2 sections. We did 2 sections before. We got through 2 more. We'll save the last 2 for next time. 30 minutes left out of an hour. I understand the love for 7, but again, it's not a perfect game. And yeah, the age rating was there for a reason, because the original remake is a T game. The original game itself was a T game, and they're going for the same kind of mood and audience as well. They're not trying to do people pleasing. They're trying to remake the game the best that they can for the fans that they think the way they want it to. And it's so divisive and mixed on what fans actually want, because the fans don't even really know what they want. Trust me, they do not know. That they are stuck in the middle of doing things they want to do, and things like Nomura said recently that it's expected of them. I think the blood scene would have been better and would have highlighted things better, but they had their reasons for doing it. But I don't want Final Fantasy VII to become an M-rated game. I think the rating system is ridiculous in the first place. I think since, again, 30 years ago, the age rating was just added not too long before Final Fantasy VII came out. There was no age ratings until like Mortal Kombat, and there was this CD game, I forgot what it was called, CDI game, I think, that pushed the envelope of what video games can depict. And the ESRB of America was established because of that. And they were pretty strict what games made what rating before. But as time went on, it got more and more and more strict. Especially the last like 15 years, people have become so soft that the most minor, minute things, like just smoking a cigarette, will bump up your age rating of a game. And I don't want Final Fantasy VII to become an M-rated game, because most media that is quote-unquote made for adults is slop. Not in the trendy sense of the word, but it is literally slop. It is stuff that is trying to cater and make you feel like you're an adult by having these mature themes like smoking and alcohol and sexual exploitation and everything, cursing. But the thing that makes those work is the restraint to not use them at least all the fucking time. It is more mature to show restraint with that level of storytelling than to just use it like these other modern AAA games do, or these other shows like Game of Thrones and everything do. I don't want to see Final Fantasy VII turn into that because of an M rating, because that's what people would expect at that point. They're trying to stay in those expectations of what Final Fantasy VII is. And again, those same fans would be saying stuff like, oh, this is so goofy. Why is this an M-rated game goofy? What's with this an adult game, right? This is for kids. That's what a lot of casual gamers would say. A lot of the ball and gun gamers would say. The people who would try this game out. So they are trying to balance things the best that they can. I don't agree with it, and I'm not justifying it, but I see the logic to it. And the reason why I'm upset right now is because this guy is ignoring logic to validate his emotions and his point. I'm gonna close that for now. For this. Oh yeah, this is the one we were watching earlier. But yeah, we'll finish that another time. Ugh. It's just how he represents his information and how he talks. It makes me so irritated. But yeah. Yeah, we can see if my mods are working, if they work what I was trying to do beforehand. And if they don't, man, it is what it is. And then I'm gonna probably call it for tonight. Let's see. Because it's an older game, it's really annoying to mod because I have to like rebuild the game and it takes a long time with the mods I have. So that's why it took so long earlier. And then it kept saying something like, I can't find path for executable or whatever. When I'm literally looking at it, it's like, make sure it's named properly or whatever. I don't know what was happening. Okay, it looks like the mods were installed. Let's see if they were installed properly. It's just, I'm so tired of emotional debates with people who are just trying to justify how they feel about something instead of really talking about things honestly. Huh. This is kind of horrifying. I think the textures are reversed. All the clothes textures are on the body, and all the body textures are on the clothes. This was supposed to be a mod where you get to play as Roxas. Wow, that's really in depth. Wow. I'll just see what the abilities and stuff look like. Oh, and let's see if this worked. So I can at least show you the Keyblade that I was gonna... Yeah, something broke. Something broke really bad. Because I tried to make the Keyblade, and just have some fun as Vanitas or Roxas, but that doesn't really seem like it's gonna be a thing. I'm gonna have to try it again. This sucks. Maybe the files for him got destroyed. Let's see, what was that other form? Oh yeah, let me equip magic too. Oh wait, no, I don't need to. So it's the same, but with a slightly different animation, it looks like. No, it's about the same. This is weird, dude. Let's play some music. I'm starting to feel like about to be invaded by some kind of alien species or something. With this freaking googly-gop looking guy on my screen. So all the base attacks are the same exact as Sora, which is smart. Oh, the animation is unique. That's cool. That's... I don't think that is, but let's see. Promise form? Oh hey, he's got almost the normal face. Look at that, Chris. He's almost normal. I'm a real boy. Yeah, let's see what Master Form looks like. It's about the same. Aw, man. Only Valor forms to be completely unique. Everything else seems to be the same, which is kind of disappointing. Because I'm pretty sure that one of the forms that were advertised when he goes into Promise form, maybe that's what's happening here. But when he goes into a Promise form, it's apparently supposed to be, what's it fucking called? The dual blade form that he does when you fight against him, and you can use those like energy rays and stuff. This is so weird. Uh-oh. So weird. These mods got... I wonder if it's because of the custom Keyblade mod, if this would work normally. Oh, I'll rebuild it again. Oh, what's up with this freaking key? There's so much fucking damage. Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't use this earlier. Even with this freaking OP thing. But yeah, with that Keyblade generator, it's really cool. You can select a number of items to just with a bunch of cool like custom stat things. Like, I wonder, did I actually take the stats even though I unchecked it? Let's see. Yeah, it's even got combo boost. The most powerful Keyblade of them all. $99 fucking damage. Oh man, I was joking when I put that on there. Like, no, I shouldn't, and I unclicked it, but oh, just like all of tonight, this random funky shit's been happening with mods, so I'm really upset with this promise form. Pretty happy with Valor. Yeah, we're not gonna save that. What the fuck is happening, man? I'm gonna open this up and crack it. See what we're doing. Checking some stuff here. Okay, well, that's a bummer. Couldn't get through that normally, but it is what it is. Gonna get through the sorry. Gonna get through that for my sister. I'm pretty bummed about that, honestly. But I did get away from it for like a week, and then I started doing it again. It just sucks going to stream and then just doing that over and over and over again for hours. That's what I was like bumming me out about this thing. I want to start doing new stuff with stream, but no. We'll just I think I'm gonna head to bed, get some sleep. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Thanks for coming and chatting with me, Chris. I appreciate it. Sorry for all my yapping and useless bullshit. We got a lot of stuff done for the stream though today. That was kind of cool. So, but anyway, I'm gonna head out. Have a good night, everyone. Please keep in contact with the people that you love and care about. Because again, you just never know when they're not going to be here. The ones who are close to you mean more than anything. And don't let that. Have a good night, everybody.